Hey folks, it's Ryer Appledorn here. I'm a little dirty in the face, but let's talk about what's going on in the new studio. Okay, so folks, here's a quick tour. There are a bunch of my model kits and some of the finished models up there, as well as some paints and scenery stuff. Down here are some paintings I've been working on, as well as all my paints, which have yet to be organized onto those two shelves back there. Over my shoulder, as well as a bunch of art you might recognize, this is where all of the glass work happens. And over here, we're working on some base stuff for a couple of our cars. Here's another base we've been working on. We'll do a video about these some point in the future, hopefully before the summer is over. Over here, we have the car kits that we want to have finished before we go back to Chicago. It's a pretty big pile, and a lot of these have barely been opened, so maybe it's wishful thinking. Here on the big table, something you may not have seen yet. This is the steam engine. As you can see, it's pretty big. There's a lot of work to do on it still. Obviously, there's no boiler on it. A lot of paint and details, missing a smokestack. That's just a mock-up cab. Those are mock-up domes. And it looks a little jaunty because, well, it's propped up on cigar boxes. That's because we've been painting it. Yeah, and we're going to do a little more in-detailed videos about the steam engine and the car kits over there. But I want to take a moment and I want to talk about something new that I've been working on. Okay, so recently I've been playing around with these Warhammer kits, and the reason I got into these is because I went to a Riders in the Grand Rapids area, and I asked for some weathering kits or weathering paints or whatever, and they pointed out some of the Citadel technical series, which there are plenty of videos about what they are and how they work, but I started using them and I thought they were really cool, and I figured maybe the rest of Games Workshop's products could be interesting. So I started looking through some of the stuff, and the Space Marines, really kind of called out to me. One, because they're really interesting sculpts, and just the subject matter is really fun. I like this, genetically engineered humans with really big guns, basically. Now, the thing about Games Workshop is they are wicked expensive, and so I've only kind of dug into 3 kits, and this is about as far as I've made it in a week. I've got about half of a Space Marine Razorback, 1 figure out of 5 of an Assault Squad, and 2 figures out of a Scout Squad, partially finished. All these here, everything you see in front of me, is all I've started on, and they're all about half finished. I've got a lot of highlighting, a lot of dry brushing, and a lot of washing to do on all of these still, as well as some base painting even. I really have no interest in playing any Warhammer tabletop games. Not because it isn't interesting. In fact, it's really, really fascinating. It's just that I am nowhere near smart enough to play it, and I am nowhere near financially in a place where I could afford playing it. The 3 kits that are represented here are about $100. And there are more figures, obviously, and the tank's not finished yet, but still, it's not a lot of bang for your buck. I really like these sculpts, and I really like making them, but I might, I'll probably keep these, but as I get a little better at painting such small figures and learning how to take my time a lot more, because there is so much more detail in such a smaller space than compared to 24th and 25th scale models, I'll probably start trying to flip these, which means, I'll buy the kit and then try to resell them to people who just want completed models just to start playing. Now, before I say goodbye, on that note, I do want to make a point. Last time I talked about potentially selling models for money, I got a little bit of backlash for that, and I wanted to quick justify it both in the car sense and especially in the Warhammer sense. This stuff is expensive. And Games Workshop stuff especially. I've been digging into some of the Citadel paint series. See, these are the only ones that I've bought so far, and that's about $100 worth of paint. And these kits, they are only, they cost often more than a model car kit from Revell or AMT would cost. The argument for that is that, well, the models are really great, things are really superior, all this. in my very, very, very mild experience that I've had with these, a lot of these have mold lines, a lot of these have seam lines, a lot of these have mold lines or molds that didn't even line up when they injected the styrene into the mold. A lot of these kits are actually in worse shape than some of AMT's older kits, and they cost about twice as much as an AMT kit, which I have talked about plenty of times. Being something I like. I like being able to scrape, having to scrape extra styrene off, having to fill in molds, stuff like that. It's fine. It's a part of modeling, and it's part of the fun. But when you're paying $25 for 3 figures, or $30 for 3 figures, or $40 for a small tank, then and those are the cheap ones. I mean, there are things that are upwards of $200, and that's not like local hobby shop costs. That's right from the source, right from Citadel, right from Games Workshop. And that's really, really frustrating because these are really, really cool kits, really cool sculpts, really cool subject matter. And so to justify building these, being able to justify building these on my pocketbook, which is very thin because of school and because, work is hard to do, plus modeling is just damn expensive, as I'm sure most of you know, there has to be some turnaround. Now, I never really want to model for money. I don't want to build models, for profit. I enjoy it too much to do it for a living. But when I say I'm thinking about flipping these Warhammer things, I'm saying that I would flip them for cost, not really for any profit at all. I've got about $200 invested in this. I would probably try and sell these figures for around $100, maybe a little more. Just so that way I could invest that money into buying more Warhammer kits so I could build the interesting subject matter. The subject matter's out there and it's available. Plus, on top of that, this stuff takes up a lot of room. Everyone out there's got a modeling room, or a space where they model in, and you got kits stacked up everywhere. And you know what? For me, I do not have the space or the resources to display all my models, and frankly, I don't need to. Looking at them is not the fun for me. Building them is the fun, and then the creative process of building them. That's the fun for me. So, if I can turn them around a bit, give them off to people at the cost it made for me to sell them, to have other people enjoy them, and so I can keep funding the meditation that I get from building these things, then I think you should do it. And that is a totally worthless rant, and it's totally probably inappropriate for me to take like a 2-month hiatus of making videos and then come back and talk about how I didn't like it, that people told me that it's weird that I should try and sell my artwork, but I'm an artist and that's what I do. Anyway, sorry if that was a bit of a tangent or a rant. I don't know why I did that. But anyway, Warhammer kits are really fun. They are interesting to build. The subject matter is quite fascinating. And if you get a chance to pick some up on the cheap, go ahead and do it because they're a lot of fun to build. They're really small, so you have to take your time. So anyway, folks, we're here in the new studio. I'm sorry that I did such a really quick run around of all the stuff that's going on up there. I will do more in-depth videos of things I've been working on. I'm sorry you haven't been around at all. Things just been wicked crazy, both moving into this new space as well as some other stuff that I'm sure Augie mentioned. So I will talk to all you guys later. I'll be posting videos of things I've been working on, going into more detail about all my separate builds, and I will talk to y'all later.